Hello, welcome. We are back with more, uh, the warm up rambling series. It is, it's cold, obviously, but the main thing is, the snow is melting, which is arguably worse than the snow just being there. I feel like the snow just being there was like a better, um, was better than when it melts, cause like now it's like icy, slippery, and wet. So it's like a multitude of things before just like a little powdery, mess, and is not no longer a powdery mess. It's worse than that. We got some sunlight today though, gracing us. I noticed yesterday the video is like kind of dark, so that was a little bit whack, but there's really not much you could do about that except nothing. But it's sunny, I guess, for the most part. I am doing well, I guess. And yeah, there's not really much to go over. Yesterday I did start working on one of my projects. Insert image of project here, I guess. Future me again. I had to like cut out like some stencils. There's a video on YouTube. I can't even link it because I don't remember the guy's name. But it's an old video, I think. Like either 6 years ago or 10 years ago, I don't know. And it's a pretty straightforward video. You don't have to really think too much about it. Hold on. Alright. Sorry. But yeah, not really much between today and yesterday. I did start working on my project. Had to make some stencils. Obviously, they have like a long method on how to make like stencils and stuff. And me having impatience and being short on time, I just skip all of that. Like usually, what I want is not the internals anyway. What I just want for my stencil designs is just like the general shape. Like if it's like a circle, I just want the circle. You know what I mean? Like I don't want the internals if it's like eyes, a mouth. Like I don't want that. I just want the circle. And for me, that's useful. and the other ways are, are nice and and intelligent, but it's not what I want personally. So it's not really a big deal for me. But I do. It is interesting because before I started working on the project, which is essentially just like, like cut out, like kind of like stop motion animation, but very like limited. Um, Before I started working on it, I made some stencils using like cardboard because it was like, oh, use like a folder or something. And my my funny little brain used cardboard, and I made them so big that if you use them on like a paper, they just take up the whole page, or like the center of the page. And then when I made the cutouts for the character, um, I also made another mistake because I also made it too big. So like perspective wise, it looks crazy, but if you just kind of like place it in the right spots, it makes sense. And I think that that's funny. But that's why you do preliminary stuff. You do tests, so you don't commit a lot of time and effort into trying to do something that you think is finished when it's actually not. Today I wanted to try to do something. I wanted to do something different. I was thinking like at the beginning we would do the line contour, and then we would end with the personal art. But I don't think that that is gonna happen now. But I don't know. We could still do it after this part. Like we could just do this to like warm up, and then we go to the next piece, which would be the blind contour drawing, and from there we would go to the next part, which would be the personal art last. But we'll have to see, because usually the personal art is not really to be too specific. It's just like a mood booster, like I don't know, like, oh, you're tired, here's a little bit of caffeine. It's usually just something to like push you a little bit further so that you can complete your other tasks. Like one of the things that I used to do, like whether it comes to like beat making or drawing or whatever, like when you don't want to do, or when you feel like you can't do something, like let's say you feel like you can't draw, like usually, I don't know about everybody else, but usually me, I have like a bunch of different sketches already done, and instead of like trying to do a new one when I feel like I can't draw, I'll just color an old one, and coloring that old one will allow me to be like, oh well, I'm not really that, that like doubt and self internalization is like, oh no, I am what you call it, I'm not as bad as I thought I was. And now suddenly after I do that, I could draw again, because I believe that drawing is like mostly mental. you know Drawing is mostly mental, and when the mental is not good, it is hard to draw, in my opinion. At least for me, I don't know, can't speak for others. Maybe for them it's not that way, but for me, if my mental is not good and I'm having, doubt and thoughts, it is harder to create in that vacuum. And yeah, it is a trying task, to be honest. I don't have this but yeah, I don't know. right now my line is a little goof troop. And since I don't even put all of the videos out on the same day, I could just reorder them and it wouldn't even make a difference if I did the contour first, but it would, like, systematically, because the contour is usually last, and I use the other drawing to boost my brain for the contour, because for me the contour is grading. Even though it's supposed to look like nothing, I am like overthinking. I am constantly like worried, not about like how good it looks, but that I'm not paying close enough attention, or that I'm not moving slow enough, or that I'm not feeling the shape enough. And that's a constant thing. I think this camera's battery just dies faster now for some reason. I'm not sure. But today we did definitely check, or last night when I was setting up the battery pack, it definitely was charged to full. My biggest fear with the battery pack though, oh no, see, like, it's wet out here, so like the paper is getting wet by the melting ice. But my biggest fear when it comes to the battery pack is that it's gonna like explode. Like, that's a unfounded fear. I don't think it's happened, but you never know. It is old. But yeah. Maybe we should, like, draw some things in these. Try to get like some stuff in there. See, you draw a box, but you can't draw anything inside the box, so then what's the point, right? What's the point of the box, fellas, if you can't put stuff inside of it? The box is not meant to be... You get good at like these exercises or whatever, and then you don't get good at applying them. So it's like you figured out a formula to use them, but you don't really like know what you're like, what they are used for, if that makes any sense. Like, they're fundamental, but you don't know why you're doing them. You just start doing them on autopilot, and it's a trap that a lot of people fall into. Or at least for me, like, a lot of practice and like practicing certain things is actually divorced from drawing, in my opinion. And again, it's just for me, where it's like, oh, I'll practice something and it's like meaningless because it is divorced from my actual process. But it's because you're just not thinking about it as you would think of like your art. And then you end up like that one episode, like SpongeBob, where he's like told to forget everything or whatever, and then he can't draw anymore, and he was like innately like, a little artist. But that's how it goes down, man. That's how it goes down in the town, honestly, in my opinion. Because I felt like there are points where I knew less and I was a bit more like experimental, and I would come to like crazy results, but it wasn't consistent. So it was like inconsistently consistent, when in reality, you want to be able to tap into that all the time. And that's why you would study fundamentals, so that you could do that. But the more you study them, the harder it becomes for you sometimes to tap into that mind state, that state of flow, that state of flux. And I think that that's pretty funny when you think about it, because you're like practicing so you can do it, but the practice kind of like makes so that you can't do it. At least for me. I can't speak for everybody, but the more that I practice, the arguably the harder like just drawing sometimes gets, in many ways. and it's just because like it's for I don't know what it is, but like for me, like practicing a lot of times is divorced from doing art. It's similar with like school. Like when I was in school, um, I like my first year of like high school, I like failed um social studies or like global whatever the heck it's called, and my teacher was like, you know, you could do better if you went to like tutoring or something like that. So I was just like, yeah, 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 and I didn't go to tutoring, but I pretended like I was like I was going to, so she would just leave me alone. And I ended up, you know, the next test, I ended up getting like a 90 or something, and it was just like, she was like, oh, like you, like they was like, oh, like you went to tutoring, and I was like, no, and just like, oh, it's like literally you telling me that I could do better, just made me do better. That was it, because before I just didn't care, like I literally just did not give a crap, and then you said, oh, you could do better. It's like, okay, so then I just did better, and it's stupid because that particular subject, right? I was getting pushed to get put into like AP classes after that. Like after like a certain point, they was like trying to push me to get me into like advanced placement classes, which for me, I just was not thinking about that particular thing, to be honest, because I didn't really have much interest in school, and they were just like, "Oh, you want to do events?" I was like, "No," because I saw like I remember I had a an acquaintance or whatever, like a friend or something in the AP class, and it was talking about like the workload, and I was like, "Yeah, I could be in the AP class where I'll be doing where I'll have to work harder to be better and above average class, or I could just stay in this you know middling normal class and do the same exact work and just get high grades. I'm just gonna stay in this one because I'm not gonna be doing like 5 essays for homework or any of that stuff. Like I'm kind of good on that, bro. And I never told them that like they wanted to put me in AP class. I was just just talking, and they just let what's going on in their class, and I'm just like, yeah, I think that that is not for me, man. Like all the AP classes were a bit cuckoo for me, at least. And I'm sure like there's people out there who enjoy like that, like persistent grind of having to like push yourself, in some cases like a leaderboard, so to speak, or like a video game, right? You just keep pushing yourself and keep trying harder and harder with the people and around you, seeing if you could outperform them or outperform your own best, like speed running or something. But for me, it was just like, nah, I'm already, I already don't want to do this, so I'm definitely not gonna want to do that. It's like there's not more. You're not gonna be adding more to my. You're not gonna be adding more to my life. Thank you. You're gonna be taking it away. And if I could go back, would I change that? Maybe. But there's a bunch of other stuff that I would interact with first. My damn nose is itching. Sorry. But yeah, I learn more sometimes just from like watching somebody else do something, and then just like subconsciously incorporating that versus like actually doing the thing that they are teaching sometimes, which is weird. Like with animation, there's a guy on YouTube, and I also forget his name. I think it's like Ben or something. And I remember I watched him do like 2D effects, and for some reason, after watching him do 2D effects, I could like do explosions and fire like pretty convincingly. And for some reason, I just stopped doing it, and then now it's like really hard to do. And I don't know if they have any of the YouTube videos up anymore or anything, but it was really helpful. Um, you know. But yeah, alright, so I'll give you an overview of this page. We are moving in a new direction, I guess. We're trying to use the cubes to do stuff with them inside the cubes instead of just drawing them mindlessly and aimlessly, which is good but also not really useful. And yeah, so we got a mannequin, we got all this other stuff, and yeah. So if you made it this far into the video, thank you for sticking out, hanging out this long. Thank you for clicking on the video. Hopefully you hit the like and subscribe button, leave a comment, and if not, that is fine. Thank you. I will see you again soon in the next one. Peace out. Oh crap.